quite strong stuff from the Chancellor.
It was quite strong. I feel your frustration, Nigel. The kind of the people in the dark, if you like, are trying to close ranks and get you to, frankly, something off.
Be off.
Family show.
Yeah.
But the Chancellor, front and centre, asked me to ask him about your case, which is very unusual.
Yeah.
This is the second most powerful bloke in the country.
Yeah.
Right? And it's really interesting. He has tonight written, as he said there, to the Financial Conduct Authority. He's made that letter available to us. The Chancellor's also said publicly, free speech is a fundamental human right. You can agree or disagree with Nigel Farage, but everyone must be able to express their opinions. I've written to the FCA. They have the right to fine banks very large sums of money if they find this practice is widespread. I want to know if it is, says Jeremy Hunt, and I want to know what they are doing about it. It'd be very interesting to see if the Chancellor responds, frankly, to this foot-dragging and long grassing, as we call it.
Which is what I'm getting,
yeah. If he sees that this is happening, if he clocks it, I know his advisors are watching this show, he's probably watching this show himself.
Yeah.
Is he going to do anything about that procrastination and foot-dragging that you have been subjected to over the last 24 hours?
It's interesting, isn't it? And because the problem is, and we discussed the FCA last night. Sheldon Mills, one of the top people there, has been a director, indeed the boss of Stonewall. It's been that culture, that politicisation, if you like, of our banks that it seemed to me that the FCA themselves have almost encouraged.
It seems to me some of our top banks have become a plaything for massively over-entitled people who aren't as clever as they think they are, but they're kind of, establishment good eggs, good chaps, though, of course, these days they're not always chaps.
Yeah.
And yet the banking industry is, as I think Jeremy Hunt understands, at least from this writing, they should be plumbers, not architects. They are a utility. And the fact that people are being deliberately debanked for their political views is a complete outrage. This is about so much more than you. Just today, my own newspaper, the Telegraph, has been reporting that some rural groups who organise the local hunts, obviously they don't chase live foxes anymore because that's against the law, but they do drag hunting, they do point-to-point. You live in the countryside like I do. These are hugely diverse organisations, people from all parts of society, from literally the lord of the manor to stable hands, get together. These local hunt groups, they're using so-called sum-up machines that are backed by banks in order that people can make donations, tombolas, local charity fundraising, which is by tapping their card. Some hunt groups are now being debanked. They're not doing anything illegal.
Legal activities in this
urban liberals
country
just don't like them.
Gunsmiths are having the same problem. Anybody involved in the oil or gas industry. I had a chap write to me the other day who's an engineer on coal-fired power stations, which, interestingly, we've been firing up again this summer, and they're all being debanked as well. Liam, what has been interesting to me, I've had a sense over the last couple of weeks that here's a big issue that actually is uniting Leavers and Remainers in a remarkable way.
It absolutely is. It's uniting, I think, Remainers who are intellectually honest enough and are anti-tribal enough that they can bring themselves, with huge respect, Nigel, through gritted teeth to move on to the same side of the room that you are. Because you are, for them, obviously, a hate figure. You've spent your adult life winding up Conservatives about the European Union to hugely successful. And now you're exposing that a lot of their establishment friends are using our banking industry almost as a kind of a prop to promote their own virtue to their friends.
And to be moral arbiters.
Completely mad. It's completely mad. And particularly here you've got a bank that's 40% owned by the state. You've got an elected government that is trying to give out drilling licenses so we can use more North Sea oil and gas because it actually generates a much, much lower carbon footprint and is strategically useful for us and also generates tax revenue for the UK. And NatWest, this 40% owned bank, it says it's not going to lend money for the oil and gas industry. That's insane.
No, it is. Quick thought, interest rates up again today, 14th rise in a row. The right decision, the wrong decision?
I think it's the wrong decision. I've been writing for many months that we should freeze interest rates. And interesting that the Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, a bloke called Ben Broadbent, who, of course, used to work for Goldman Sachs. It seems to be, you know...
Obviously.
compulsory that you have to have worked for Goldman Sachs to be as big cheese, be Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, probably being lined up to be the next governor. He acknowledged in the press conference today that monetary policy takes 18 months to 2 years to actually have an effect. So raising interest rates now, that's not... Of course, it has an immediate effect if you're on a variable rate mortgage, and it's a painful effect. But he's admitting that this monetary policy works with long and variable lags. I feel strongly, and a lot of people now agree with me, I've been saying it for months, that the Bank of England should hold fire and see what the impact of the now 14 successive interest rate rises. 10 or 11 interest rate rises would have been enough. Since then, it's just been pain for ordinary households and firms in the real economy, and it's been all about the Bank of England trying to assert itself in order to salvage its lost credibility.
And it could drive us into recession.
Compounding the error,
and
it could easily drive us into recession.
Very quick thought, Wilko, household name, 12,000 jobs, hardware store.
The one thing I'd say here, right, it hasn't gone to administration. What they've given is an NOI. You're a businessman, you know, that's a notice of intent. They're saying they're thinking about going into administration. They now have 2 weeks during which they can find a new buyer, as the fashion chain Joules did in December when Next bought them, saved over 100 outlets. Look, I'm not saying that Wilko are going to be rescued, but I do think they've got a fighting chance. They can at least keep some of those 400 stores open, and some of those 12,000 jobs can be salvaged.
Let's hope, for the sake of the people working there, that they can do that. Liam, as ever, thank you.